So, I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with Mormonism, and one of the for me important things about what the narrative around the ex-Mormon community, if there is such a thing, that I feel needs to be spoken of. And I was a Mormon for 20 years, more than 20 years, and was a TBM. I was a temple worker and had various callings, and married in the temple. My son was born in a covenant, and didn't really question anything. I received my witness from the Holy Spirit, as they say, from reading I think it's chapter 5 of Moroni, whatever it is. And that was it for me. It was like, okay, I've not felt that kind of inner conviction before, and from then on I didn't really question it. I was a golden, as they say, and was soon baptized and then a member. I went through what I would call, which is not a unique experience, I think everybody has, the dark night of the soul. And after about 10, 11 years became inactive. I didn't lose my kind of knowledge that the church was true. I just fell away because I guess because I felt unworthy. And that wasn't through any particular transgression. It was just more a sense of that I was in a bit of a bad place emotionally and mentally following a divorce, and rejected the church, and literally walked away. And because of the work that I'd done prior to joining the church, which I suppose you could call kind of esoteric mystery schools, that kind of thing, I felt that I'd become a son of perdition, and that there was no hope for me, and had some incredibly very frightening experiences around that. And then I kind of came through that and trusted God, that if he was all powerful, and that Jesus Christ can forgive, that maybe I wasn't a son of perdition, maybe I could find my way back, and again received a witness of that through the Holy Spirit, and that I was forgiven, and that in fact in my mind that Jesus had carried me through that time. So I became an active member again. However, this period of time, I guess I'd fallen back on something, or something had kind of landed with me, and I began to question the church. And one of the things that started this process was the church's stand on CV19. And I remember watching Elder Uchtdorf explain about masks and about, all the regulations around CV19, and it was the way it was like it was his body language. And although he was saying one thing, for me his body was saying something else, and he picked up a mask and he sort of threw it down, and I thought that doesn't seem like an action of a man of God. And that just sowed a very small seed in me that had me doubt his authenticity, really. And from that very, very small questioning, I began looking at Radio Free Mormon and all the other things on YouTube that were questioning the church, and it just opened everything up. You know, the Book of Abraham, the polygamy, the anachronisms within the Book of Mormon. There's just too many to name, and it just seems to go on forever. And so I left, and left for good. In all senses of the word, I'd say that I could see that it was a false church, and that the Book of Mormon was a 19th century fiction. And that the prophets really didn't have a clue, or the prophet and the apostles, they didn't have a clue, and they weren't teaching anything really significant, no different from mainstream religion. You know, it's sort of a talking shop, really, and a very superficial, for me, very superficial doctrine. And the point that I want to make now is, having left the church and also seeing a distinction between what you might call the Christ of faith and the Jesus of history, and how God, whatever that means, whatever that word means, always wants our highest good, and will always work, and is always working to bring us to a place of love and a place of transcendent love, which is limitless and unconditional. And recognizing that we are love, that He is love, and that we are love, and there's no distinction. The whole process is love. And anyway, the point I want to make that is important for me is about responsibility, and how the ex-Mormon community, I know that doesn't mean anything really because it's too diverse. However, what I've seen is there's a lot of kind of almost finger pointing, although that's probably not the best way of putting it. It's a kind of, look how bad the church is, look how wrong the church is, look how false the church is, and then extending that into, you know, mainstream, any kind of fundamentalist, what RFM calls high demand religion. And the thing that's missing is responsibility, that I am not a victim in any of this, and that I own my part in this drama. And ultimately, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so at some level I get that I chose, or I allowed myself to engage with Mormonism and engage with any high demand fundamentalist religions, maybe in order to test myself. I don't know. I guess there's not a lot of value in kind of over-analysing it. However, it wasn't something that happened to me, in the sense that now I can see everything I do and everything that happens to me is that there is no distinction, because there's only love. And so maybe I'm not expressing this very clearly. However, what's clear to me now is that I played my part, and that I cannot, or I will not, view myself as a victim of Mormonism. Because there's no distinction between what happens to me and what I do. I don't know if this makes any sense. It makes sense to me. And I guess if I think about what disciplines have brought me to this place, I could list a few for maybe further reference or research, and I would say Alan Watts, certainly, the kind of Zen, Buddhist kind of ideas, A Course in Miracles, what else, and meditation, really just kind of my own connection with self, with a capital S, and self with a small s. And and perhaps something like Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, which is probably drawn from A Course in Miracles. Anyway, and then generally kind of my own mystery school teachings, and the subsequent work that I did with Concord Institute in London, along with a host of other practices and readings and books of ancient wisdom and current transformational thought, along with people like Stephen Covey, and the whole self-actualization body of work, which I say is moving human consciousness to what I would term the third paradigm, the I am consciousness, transcending and including the me. Anyway, the main point of all this is that I own my part in my time as a Mormon, and don't just blame the church, because it takes two.